Good afternoon, people. I just figured I would do this one. No one seems to join my things anyway. If you do want to join, you can feel free to. The link is always going to be in the description box. You can come in, tell me how much of an idiot I am, that I'm crazy, and then I'm going to follow up with some logic questions to you, and whether you answer them or not, it's up to you. Most likely you aren't going to answer them. Because, what? So I got an email from a friend of mine. He's great. He's a great friend. We like to talk about a lot of things. I'd love to talk to him about this stuff. I'm just going to share the screen. I redacted his name in case he wanted to remain anonymous. It's hard to see. I'll see if I can keep zooming in a bit. Okay. But basically, he spent a lot of time. Oh, this is, I can't get this right. He's basically in the went to flight school. He always wanted to be a pilot. Hi, Nash. So he just watched snippets of the videos, and you know what? You got to watch the entire videos. I have to watch the entire videos, and the videos that I show, I don't agree with 100%. Because there's just no way of knowing whether anything is true. I glean the information that seems pertinent, and I research that information and see if I could find a credible source from that video snippet. A portion of that video, I wouldn't say video snippet. Because what a lot of people do is they grab a lot of things and they put them together to point to a narrative. I don't want to do that. That's not my thing. What I do is I'm showing you my train of thought and how I'm going to look at something and vet the information, and whether that information is true or not, and it's official documentation either from the government, so .gov is usually where I tend to look, and mainstream corporate media. Why would the media lie to you? They're either lying or they're telling the truth. If you don't think they're lying, well, and they're telling the truth, well, they're saying it. They're writing it. They're making videos about it. So either it's a lie, and now government. Now you're admitting that the government and the mainstream corporate media is lying to you, or they're telling the truth. You just don't want to believe the truth. So which is it? And that's the part where you might run into some. You're going to start yelling at me and not at the government or the mainstream corporate media that they're lying to you. So my friend talks about how the FMS on planes, you could program into the area. He saw that portion where at the bottom says chemtrail on whatever, and that doesn't prove much of anything. And as you notice, I didn't even mention that as part of the argument for or against chemtrails. It's mostly at the end of the video, before I went on to that topic in Shasta County in California, and I got shut off. Well, I talk a little bit about it, and I reply, I'll make sure to show the video, so I will show you the video. Of course, I'd like to have my friend on sometime. He doesn't have to have the camera on. In my analysis, chemtrails are just a deployment method of geoengineering, whereas the actual conspiracy theory in question is whether geoengineering is harmful to life systems on a planet. There are geoengineers, patents by geoengineers, and within those patents, the mention of using luminous strontium barium disbursement into the atmosphere. NOAA, NASA, and USAF, which is the Air Force, both officially document the use of geoengineering for fighting climate change and for use in warfare. Questions have been asked whether geoengineering studies have been done on whether it may have negative effects. The answer: research has been done, but no studies have been published. This is at least 7 years ago, or a decade or two, probably asked a couple of times. Currently, there is no published research yet. Geoengineering is being done, whether you research that governments or mainstream corporate media are doing them. The biggest thing to watch out for is to watch out for this info, because it makes it easier to dismiss valid arguments. When I show our videos and discuss them afterwards, I only use what appears valid to me and from an argumentative and strategic aspect. These arguments as I just described, show geoengineering is a fact and to be true. Also, has the government lied or covered up things? Yes, that's a necessity for government, just for government to stay viable. And there's a link to Business Insider. All the links I'm going to show in this video, everyone, you can access them for yourselves. They're in the description box. Read the entire article and research it further. Secret deployment agents done to U.S. citizens have occurred, and deployment method, aka chemtrails, was a method used. My strategy is to use official documentation and official news outlets to expose what is actually happening. Either it's happening or they're lying again. The reason for this is either they are telling the truth and people refuse to believe them, or that they are lying and people are okay with that. It's bad either way. So, here we go. You could stay with me or you could leave, and if you leave, that's fine. You don't want to know about this stuff. So this is the FMC tutorial, the link that my friend gave. You can always watch this.
What we'll do is we're going to pull up the FMC, and if you're not familiar with this, the first thing you got to do is set your position on this. So I always hit FMS1. Tab date's out of date, and just clear that. And it's telling me to set my position, which we're going to do right now. So clear that, go to position initialization, and the reference airport we're at is Seattle. So we have the Seattle right here where it says reference.
So basically what he was just saying is that you could type in anything at the bottom of the screen, and that was mainly for a joke. Again, this info, but that wasn't a part of the video I was focusing on. Here we go. So, the U.S. government sprayed toxic chemicals on unsuspecting Americans. TN Sons of Liberty, I should subscribe to him, recorded this and shared it and gave within the source the actual link of the default page. Except if you go to the default page, which takes you to ksdk.com, channel 5, and of course, they don't have it anymore. Isn't that interesting? They removed it. Why? Let's see what they had.
It's so unbelievable, we didn't think it could possibly be true. But after receiving thousands of records and declassified reports from the Army, it's confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis. A local sociologist will make her findings public tomorrow, but she spoke first to the I-Team's Lisa Zigman.
Lisa Martino Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack. The truth, according to Martino Taylor, was much more sinister.
It's pretty shocking. The level of duplicity and secrecy, clearly they went to great lengths to deceive people.
By making hundreds of Freedom of Information Act requests, she uncovered once classified documents that confirmed the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide. The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12. Martino Taylor claims they all unknowingly inhaled this compound morning, noon, and night, so the government could measure its effects on their lungs.
So this was in violation of all medical ethics, all international codes, and the military's own policy at that time.
In 1994, then Congressman Richard Gephardt asked the Army to open its records and explain the St. Louis testing.
We want to make very sure that nothing went on that would harm anyone and that all the facts are out on the table.
Documents released in the 90s show the Army placed sprayers on this former Knights of Columbus building on Lindell and in Forest Park. The Army always insisted the chemical compound was safe. Martino Taylor believes documents prove otherwise.
There's a lot of evidence that indicates that people in St. Louis, in the city, particularly in minority communities, were subjected to military tests that was connected to a larger radiological weapons development and testing project.
For the first time, she links the St. Louis testing to a company called U.S. Radium, a company notorious for lawsuits involving radioactive contamination of its workers.
United States Radium had this reputation where they had been found legally liable decades prior for producing a radioactive powdered paint that killed many young women who painted fluorescent watch dials.
While the Army admits it added a fluorescent substance to the zinc-cadmium compound, details of whether it was radioactive remain secret. Documents uncovered to date indicate the Army never conducted follow-up studies to see whether the compound caused long-term health issues. In 1972, after years of crime, poverty, and decline, the government destroyed the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex. Lisa Zigman, News Channel 5, I-Team.
Now, the company U.S. Radium no longer exists. Martino Taylor has placed all of her research, including the declassified documents, online, and will link you to that data at ksdk.com. Now, she will make all of her findings public tomorrow at St. Louis Community College Merrimack campus. In the meantime, if you remember the spraying, the I-Team's Lisa Zigman would like to hear from you. You can email her at lzigman@ksdk.com.
All right, now, you can also, they don't have a link, but if you want to know more, Lisa Martino Taylor, she was a sociologist, she has everything here that you would, of all her research and everything that she's doing. You can find it, you can explore, you can look at her articles, you could watch any videos she has or any radio interviews. One thing about the video here, as you can see, and that they've said, they dispersed it as a method using planes. And what else could that be but chemtrails? Yes. They also dispersed it through a building. Interestingly enough, the building that they dispersed it from, Knights of Columbus building. Isn't that irony? Knights of Columbus, you know. Illuminati. More like Freemasonry, you know, the whole thing. And guess what they did with the building? You know, they want to do more research studies to see what effects might have been. They collapsed the building. They demolished it. You can't test it anymore because the building no longer exists. Okay. Maybe that's too much for you. Maybe, you know, that news was lying. All right. How about New York Times in 1997, May 15th? Warren E. Leary, secret army chemical test did not harm health, report says. So they're admitting to that they did these chemical tests, but they're just saying that it didn't harm anyone. As far as the report, you can go read through. Maybe you don't like New York Times. What about CBS News? This is in October 3rd, 2012. Secret Cold War tests in St. Louis cause worry, and talks more about it. You know, maybe CBS News is just lying to you, you know. What about Business Insider? Business Insider wouldn't lie to you. Oh, the Army sprayed St. Louis with toxic aerosol just during a just revealed 1950s test. This is from the AP, Jim Salter, Associated Press, October 4th, 2012. What? Why am I finding all these articles on mainstream corporate media telling me that there were these... That what that news agency just reported was true? What's going on? Mind blown. Ebon, you're just crazy. You're crazy. All right. How about we go into Operation LAC, which is Operation Large Area Coverage. This is on Wikipedia. It was a U.S. Army Chemical Corps operation which dispersed microscopic zinc cadmium sulfide particles over much of the United States. The purpose was to determine the dispersion geographic range of biological chemical agents. And here you go. How they released it? They show a plane. Oh, that's just crazy, Ebon. You know, they didn't use planes. How? that's, you know, it's not, chemtrails are not real. It's a conspiracy theory. Well, maybe let's look at something more within here. It'll link to this, which is Rocky Mountain Arsenal archive.files.wordpress.com. You know, this is, of course, this marked secret, and of course it got released. But look, this could be anyone writing up a thing, a document, and, you know, it could be faked. All right. How about going to www.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov? Can you create a .gov URL? Not unless you're actually working for the government. Now, what does this talk about? Toxicological assessment of the Army zinc cadmium sulfide dispersion tests. So here we go. It's talking to us about everything that we just saw, whether it's through the local news agency investigation, the corporate media mainstream investigation articles, the Wikipedia, or the Wikipedia link to that one article that was declassified. And now this in the .gov article, talking about everything that we just talked about. And you can go and do the research yourself. Prove to me that all this is just junk. That, hey, this article in that .gov, it doesn't mean it's real. Just because an article is up on a .gov site doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean that they're doing or have done it. Well, show me. Tell me that. I want to hear you. I want to hear you tell me that. Okay, maybe that's not enough for you. How about, you know, they didn't release those types of tests in St. Louis or all over the world? Well, all right. Here's a house.mo.gov. St. Louis, Missouri, right? There's Bill 161, HR Resolution number 58, 98th General Assembly, introduced by Representative Smith. Whereas during the 1950s and 1960s, as part of a series of Cold War experience, the United States Army dusted chosen American cities from coast to coast with a fine powder of fluorescent, potentially toxic chemicals. And whereas the powder scattering was a large part of Operation Large Area Coverage, LAC, a series of tests, the Army says, were designed to assess the threat of biological attacks by simulating the airborne dispersion of germs. And whereas the experiments exposed large portions of the United States and parts of Mexico and Canada to flurries of a synthesized chemical called zinc cadmium sulfide. Exactly everything that we were just stating before. So you boil it down to the basic source, which is a government official document. It's right here. I just gave you two sources, right? One from here, NCBI, and one from here, which is a house.missouri.gov official site. There's no faking it. They're either lying, the government, or they're telling you the truth. So which one is it? Are they telling you the truth? If they're telling you the truth, then geoengineering is occurring. Not yet, but the dispersal method by planes, by buildings, by wagons, whatever they say, that airborne dispersion of germs, etc., did occur, and it was secret, and it was okay. They finally released it after hundreds of FOIA requests by one person. One person. All it takes is one person, and she was able to do it and get this information released, and got the senator to help. So okay, so we know this. We know that yes, the government has done secret things and finally admitted to it afterwards, and you know, yeah, okay, finally you caught on to us. We did it. But you know what? It's not harmful. Isn't that what they said? It's not harmful. It did not harm health, that's what they say. But you know, we can't study whether it was harmful or not because they demolished the building. There's still, you can't really test it anymore. It's long gone. All right, now let's. Okay, so that's that. Government has done dispersal methods, pretty much exactly like Chemtrail Conspiracy Theory is talking about. It's just a dispersal method. Yes, they've done it. Okay, if you don't believe it, well, then you don't believe in official government documentation. I can't help you there. I can't help you if you don't agree with official government documentation. If it's all fake, and you know, some of it might be, because the government lies to us all the time. They just did, but this is the official government documentation released to the public. If you can't believe that, and you still don't want to believe that geoengineering is occurring, I can't help you. Sorry. Okay, now here we go. Now let's get on to geoengineering. Now, and one of the dispersal methods, John Brennan, CIA director, admits to chemtrails and stratospheric aerosol injection. He's giving a little talk at Foreign Council of Foreign Relations. Minute 49 seconds long. I'll play it back.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here.
Okay, and we'll stop there. So, within here, Mr. Flat, Taxi Rainbow Chemtrails. Yeah, I'll subscribe to him. Look, in a speech at the Council of Foreign Relations on 29th June 2016, CIA Director John O. Brennan talks openly about geoengineering. Link to full transcript here. Wow, that's awesome. You know, giving people the sources. Do people do that anymore? Huh. So it goes here, CIA.gov news information. I already have it. And you can look into it in the description box below. Was that video a fake? Was that a fake director Brennan speaking at a fake behind, you know, blue screen, whatever? I don't know. CIA says that's what happened, that this was his speech. Full transcripts right there. Either, you know, CIA is lying to you. You know, they do lie to you. Or you just don't believe what they say. So he was just, you know, poking fun at the chemtrail conspiracy theorists. I don't know. It's right there. Believe it or not. But if you're not going to believe official documents, I don't... Or think that that's an official statement, I don't know what to tell you. Now, you can learn more about stratospheric aerosol injection, climate engineering. Heck, it's even in Wikipedia. It's out there. It's real, you know. It's not like a conspiracy theory website. It's actually out there. Maybe that's not enough, right? Okay. And I'll get to this video later, but you just have to type in geoengineering. There's Wikipedia. There's dictionary term. Okay, but you know, it's pretty vague. How about we go to geoengineering NOAA. What is NOAA? National Office of, oh God, I can't remember. Well, let's go geoengineering. I'm sorry, I suck at acronyms. I was in the Navy and I still sucked at acronyms while I was in the Navy. Office of, all right, so NOAA, whatever the acronym it is, it doesn't matter. They're geoengineering as a response to climate change, the London Convention, London Protocol, in its September 2009 study, Geoengineering and Climate Science Governance and Uncertainty. Okay, they talk about geoengineering, and that was 9 years ago in the study. You know, that's just that one, but you know, you get to look through more. Maybe there's more. Geoengineering problems, they have it. It's a .gov. Accidental engineering, another .gov. Geoengineering, NOAA Earth System Research Laboratory, .gov. Geoengineering, NOAA climate.gov, right? All of that is there. You can, if you don't like these, and look, here's Guardian.com. If you like mainstream media, U.S. Science World launch world's biggest solar geoengineering study. If you don't like the geoengineeringwatch.org, you think that's like a conspiracy theorist, or fine. Look at the .gov ones. Look at the media that you like. They still talk about it. All right, geoengineering NASA. Huh? Does NASA have anything to do with engineering or want to do anything with engineering? Well, you're not going to want to look at it in some conspiracy theorist channel or something like that, right? Okay, then go to the .gov portion of NASA. Either climate.nasa.gov or nasa.gov. It's there. Whether you want to see about Hacking the Planet in April 14, 2014 by Eric Conway, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. What is geoengineering? Geoengineering is an attempt to avoid or reduce negative consequences of climate change, yada, yada, yada. All right, what are some examples? All right. So, okay, maybe you agree, finally, that you agree that geoengineering is a concept. It hasn't been done yet, right? Maybe it's just a concept. It hasn't been done. They're planning on it, but of course, it's not happening right now. Okay. Well, has it happened before? China Weather Manipulation Olympics. I remember the Chinese Olympics. I watched it. And you know what? They talked about it. They talked about China using weather modification to control the weather, to keep it dry, to get rid of all that smog. Right? And where are you going to find this information? Do you like Business Insider? Do you think they're legitimate? Do you think Wikipedia is legitimate? Do you think independent.co.uk is legitimate? Forbes.com legitimate? Reuters legitimate? Are they just not legitimate? Are they lying? They're just lies. LA Times, are they lying? MIT Review, are they lying? Okay, you know, we do know that they do lie, but are they lying for this? Now you're joining the rest of us saying, oh, mainstream corporate media is lying. There is no such thing as weather manipulation. They didn't do geoengineering. They didn't release chemtrails in China. They've been doing it. They did it. And they told you that they did it. Now, in regards to that, are there research studies? I won't get to this part yet. So then, how about geoengineering Air Force? Does Air Force have anything to do with geoengineering? I don't know. Let's go look at a non-conspiracy theorist website. I don't know, gpo.gov. I don't know, .gov seems like it's legitimate official documentation. House hearing 111 Congress from the U.S. Government Publishing Office, Geoengineering Parts 1, 2, and 3. This is in November 5th, 2009, February 4th, 2010, March 18th, 2010. Blah, blah, blah. Talks about geoengineering and all this other stuff. You can find it. If I find it, you can find it. You just have to look for it. If you don't want to look for it, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You can deny it as much as you want. Deny it. It's fine. I'll show you these documents. And you're going to say, no, that doesn't exist. That's fake news. That's not real. They wouldn't lie. Or they wouldn't tell us the truth, or I don't know. I don't know where your mind's going, but I can't have a conversation unless you come on and we have a conversation. All right, so, here we go. Geoengineering, Harvard University. geoengineering, is that an actual field? Like, can I become a geoengineer? I don't know. Can you? They seem to have a program at Harvard University. Harvard University. Is that the most prestigious university in the world? A lot of people will say yes. You think it's just the podunk university, fake university, whatever? I don't know where your mind's going, but heck, there's a Harvard Solar Geoengineering Research Program. It's there at harvard.edu. Let's see you make a harvard.edu domain. I don't think you can. You have to be a part of Harvard University. So this is fake, or is this real? Okay, I think I'm done about whether proof geoengineering is a fact that it has been done and it is going on. Now, the real question is it harmful? Well, part of the thing, and this is of course from geoengineeringwatch.org, part of it is, well, is there any research done on whether it's harmful or not? Well, someone asked a question. And I have a feeling that this was in a documentary of theirs. I haven't watched it. I don't know when that documentary is done. That could be easily found out.
Is from a nanofabrication study, which shows you can make very high quality, and do this in just a jet in a very simple way, make high quality alumina particles just by spraying aluminum vapor out, which oxidizes. So it's certainly in principle possible to do that. There's a big literature that's already looked at that. And you could do that by either building new versions of these aircraft or even re-engineering existing aircraft. So there's some ideas of that. So you go to an engineering firm and you want this done. They don't say this is hard or unusual. They say, okay, yes, we could do it. Aerosol geoengineering looks like it is so cheap that the cost is basically not going to be an issue. That means that implementation decisions will be risk-to-risk decisions. The risk of doing it against the risk of not doing it. And it makes the problem of how we govern it fundamentally harder and different and novel. So I've told you that it's cheap to deliver materials to the stratosphere, and I'm convinced that's true. I don't think that will change. But I think the more we do research, the less easy this will look, the more complicated the environmental effects will look, and that's a good thing, because right now it looks too easy. So I think that if we do more research, we're likely to find out that it's harder and more complicated than we thought, and that the side effects are harder to manage, and that's a healthy outcome that will make it easier to do the management. Of course, the opposite reaction is possible. It's an empirical question, how people will actually react to knowledge about this. Another reaction is to say, if these crazy scientists are so concerned about putting CO2 in the atmosphere, they want to think about these things, then that might actually mean we should be more serious about the risks of CO2 in the atmosphere. And by the way, it's not really a moral hazard, it's more like free riding on our grandkids. And by the way, it's not really a moral hazard, it's more like free riding on our grandkids.
Numerous air quality studies, including from CARB, California Air Quality Resource Board, have named submicron-sized particulates as being particularly harmful for human respiration. Through all the discussions today, I have not heard any mention of this fallout, and has this been studied, and also the effects of a highly reactive metal like aluminum on toxifying soils and waters?
The question is, what would be the effects of these materials on human health if they came down into the stratosphere? In particular, small particles and aluminum.
So the collaborators of mine working on the aerosol scheme are actually folks from Carnegie Mellon who focused on human health impacts. And while we haven't published it, that was the very first thing we did, was do the order of magnitude calculation in level pencil and paper, but with an expert on human health impacts about whether there could be an issue. And for aluminum or other particles, there are a lot of toxicological things that need to get looked at seriously. But if you're just thinking about the sheer number of particles and the human health impact of small particles, the answer is, well, we haven't published it. That was the first thing we looked at with some of the leading experts who do epidemiological research on human health impacts, and it's not even close to being an issue.
To clarify, so 10 megatons of aluminum dumped into the atmosphere would have no human health impact.
So let me be more careful here. We're to separate out the toxicological. So the alumina, we've only begun to research and published nothing. Alumina, we've only begun to research and published nothing.
Dane looked at him and he said, so you're telling me that spraying 10 to 20 megatons of aluminum, as you said, would have no human health effects? He took a deep breath and he swallowed and he said, let me be more careful here.
We haven't done anything serious on Illumina, and so there could be something terrible that we'll find tomorrow we haven't looked at.
And that, for me, that was the whole main point of what is going to be coming out to the public. It's the damaging effects of aluminum that are being found around the world in massive amounts. Here's David Keith confronted on this very issue, and he looked, you know, at that point like they just let the cat out of the bag.
We haven't done anything serious on Illumina, and so there could be something terrible that we'll find tomorrow we haven't looked at.
They're proceeding because they have an agenda that's separate from trying to thwart this crisis of global warming. You know, there's obviously several other objectives, whether it's depopulation, control, weapons aspects, communications aspects, all kinds of things, you know, wild cards that we know nothing about. We don't really know, and I'm not going to attempt to speculate on exactly what the agendas are, but we can see clearly the agendas are not benefiting mankind. You know, it's benefiting the agenda of the elite.
And so I think the question is, how do you draw the line between some activity that is allowed and doesn't need global governance and activities that do require global governance?
Dr. John Holdren has agreed to serve as Assistant to the President for Science and Technology and Director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. I look forward to his wise counsel in the years ahead.
My personal opinion is that we have to keep geoengineering on the table. We have to look at it very carefully because we might get desperate enough to want to use it.
Okay, so there we have it. Actually, that talk
in particular
been in 2009, as we can see from this, you know, Geoengineering and Climate Science Governance and Uncertainty, September 2009. They've started research, but they haven't published anything about harmful effects of what they might be doing. And so it's 9 years from then, almost 9. So have they published anything yet? I haven't found anything. That's where I go to here. Research study effect geoengineering, I guess. We can look at all these, you know, and like, does it tell me anything about adverse impacts? You know, want to go, here we go, how about economic impacts? 2012, White House urges research on geoengineering, combat global change, that's 2017. You know, here's an abstract of the NCBI research. So maybe we do another one. Let's do another search. Harmful research study, harmful effects. And this time we just go to news. They don't really tell us anything bad that could happen, any side effects. I mean, look at pharmaceutical industry. They have those snippets. I mean, it's almost a minute long. They have to talk fast, but they have it. Side effects may include blah 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 blah. And you might want to consult a doctor blah 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 if you have any effects of blah 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 blah. Now, dispersing all those big chemicals massively, especially aluminum. We know aluminum has effects on Alzheimer's and a couple other diseases. So do we find okay, here's one study: geoengineering the climate could imperil most animal groups. That's a new one. Yale News. What? Yale? Yale's not an not a credible university. Finally, there's something out here, and it's from Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. Oh, geoengineering the climate could imperil most animal groups. It only took 9 years, guys. It only took 9 years. Finally, one of the scientific tools being considered to reduce the impacts of climate change is solar geoengineering, or the injection of aerosols into the atmosphere. Is that chemtrails or not? Okay. To reflect sunlight back into space, but while the climate response to the technology has been studied extensively, less is known about how it would impact animal and plant species. Do you think that would be important? I think so. Finally. Yay, Yale. I don't like your skull and bones, but alright, I like this. Forestry, good. A new study co-authored by a Yale scientist finds that starting or halting such schemes too quickly could imperil most groups of animals. According to the findings published this week, yeah, it was published that week. It's on nature.com. That's awesome. So you could read up on it. It was published 22nd January 2018. In the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution, a rapid implementation or termination of geoengineering products could affect the rate of climate change so fast that most species wouldn't be able to move fast enough to keep up with the changes. Oh my goodness. It's mostly about the changes of climate change, the rate of change, not necessarily the chemicals that they use for it. What? So that's it. They don't really say, okay, the chemicals we're using could have harmful effects. It's saying the rate of climate change could have a potential consequence. My God, I am face palming about that one. Okay, Yale, you suck. Still. All right, that's all I can say. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe the .gov are fake web URLs domains. Web URL domains, you know, maybe .gov, yeah, it's fake news. You know, mainstream media, they're fake news. Obviously, it's all fake. Geoengineering isn't occurring. Chemtrails is fake. It's never happened in the past. All those news, all the .gov articles, documentations, the mainstream media news about human experimentation on U.S. citizens during the Cold War era that was hidden, not told to people, and finally released after hundreds of FOIA requests and the senator saying, hey, release documentation on it, please. And then finally the Army does. And they say, yeah, we did it, but it wasn't harmful. And they go, what? Not harmful. And then they demolished the building in St. Louis where they could have done tests on whether it was harmful. And it was the Knights of Columbus building. Isn't that interesting? So yes, I'm just a conspiracy theorist that's crazy, because I just look at the documentation from .gov, official documentation, that, hey, that news that they're telling us from mainstream corporate media, they're, oh my gosh, they're telling the truth. That world is upside down. The government and the mainstream corporate media, they don't lie. They tell us the truth. Yeah, I don't know. Which way you go, whether you believe them or not. I mean, you're either going to believe the corporate media, the government narrative, or you're not. And this one, it sides with the conspiracy theorists. They're telling us that yes, this stuff is going on, but you don't want to believe. It's not really about belief, because it's belief if you don't want to look into the information and make a logical decision. It's a belief when you know nothing about it and you take one side or another. So me, it's not about belief. I've done my research. I went down this rabbit hole, finally, and I have to admit, yeah, geoengineering is a fact. Chemtrails is just a method of dispersal. Chemtrails has been a method of dispersal that's been used in the past by the U.S. government. Not just the U.S. government, but Chinese government. And it was hidden from U.S. citizens. And until we actually had FOIA documentation, released government official documentation where we found out the truth. And whether it's harmful or not is up in the air. You would think that they would have studies by now that were published about any findings, but no. There's one by Yale saying that it's just the rate of climate change that could cause impacts, not necessarily chemicals used. So that's it. We're done. If you want to talk about it, open topic, anything goes. Almost happens every night. And even then, you can always segue on a regular topic that I do and talk about how you're crazy. Geoengineering is fake. Chemtrails never been done. It's fake. The weather manipulation that was done is fake news. The government official documentation, it was hacked. It was uploaded by Russians to make the people reading the official documentation seem like they're conspiracy theorists. It's one big conspiracy theory of a conspiracy theory within a conspiracy theory. Anyways, that's it. I got some stuff to do. I just needed to get this out there. And we will have an episode tonight. So I'll see you guys later tonight. I don't know what the episode will be yet, but we'll figure it out. All right. And we shall end it on my promo.